Hi, my name is Tiago Duarte and welcome to another video tutorial here at Daily Beats. In today's video we are going to talk about mastering and how to master your tracks inside FL Studio. And before we go and jump to the video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to this channel and activate the notifications so that you know when we upload new videos, and also share and like this video and leave a comment if you have any questions or doubts, and I will make a video out of your question, and I will answer at least. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start the concept of mastering. So the first thing that I want is to have a song to master. Sorry. So in this case I have my latest beat that I did and I published on YouTube, and it's called Dark Row, and as you can see it's not mastered. You can also look through the wave file and understand that it's not yet mastered because it has a lot of peaks, and I will go through the process of mastering this track, and then we will have at the end a mastered track. So let's go ahead. In this case it's just a beat, as you can see. It has my tag also, but it's only a beat. It's not a full song with artists or singers. It's just the instrumental. But anyways, let's go ahead. You can do the same for the rest of for other songs. And the first disclaimer that I want to give you here is that I'm not a mastering engineer, you know. I just do the mastering that I like. I usually increase the dynamics of the song and leave it in a more radio level field per se, if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say here is that whenever I master my songs, I only master using headphones or my speakers here in my bedroom, in my studio, and my studio is not treated to be a mastering studio. So I'm sure that if I send this track to a mastering studio, it will be better than me doing it here in my DAW in FL Studio and with my phones, because this mastering is a very like producing. You have to have very good acoustics to understand the flaws in your mixes and then correct them at the master stage. But in this case I don't have that, and what I'm going to do is to just go ahead through and go through my process of mastering. So we have one beat here, one track. I don't need that. Sorry, I don't need to send it to any channel in the mixer, because we only have one. As you can see, we only have one song or one clip in this project, and it's the song itself, the beat itself. So as you can see here, I have the master. In the master I have the song playing, and the first thing that I want to do is to add a parametric EQ. In this case I'm going to use both third-party and native plugins from to master my songs, but you can also do everything with native instruments, native plugins from FL Studio. And here what I like to use is to go ahead, right click here on these arrows, right click them, and then choose this preset for mastering, 20 Hz plus 18 Hz, 18,000 Hz cut. And as you can see, this applied a low cut and a high cut, and better, a low cut here and a high cut here, and low cut, high cut, yeah, whatever. It applied a low cut and a high cut. And what I usually do is to put around 40 here in the low cut, in the low portion, because we are cutting the lows. And what this does is I usually don't apply any kind of EQ in here, even cut or boost, just these cuts, because this is just to limit the bandwidth of my music. And if I play, you can see here that we have spectrum, or we have signal in almost all frequencies. And if I take it all the way back to 20 Hertz, you will see that we still have some portion of information and sound here at the lower parts of our beat, or in this beat in this case. And this might not be a problem, but just to be caution and just to be sure that I don't have any conflictions in the bass part of my beat. So what I like to do is to go ahead and cut this at 40. And as you can see here, this part here is now not very active. Sometimes it appears, but it's not very active. And this is what we want to limit the range of our beat. And the same goes here for the top part. As you can see, this is 18K, but even if I decrease a little bit, like 17, you will still not hear a lot of difference, because it's very hard to listen frequencies or high frequencies at 16 to 20K. It's hard, so I will leave it as 18K or 18,000, just because, you know, and I like to keep my frequencies even here. And what this EQ is doing is just saying, okay, your frequency band is just between 40 and 18K, and everything above and below those two limits will be cut off, you know. And that's what we want. We want to limit our frequency range to this part here, just because of the rumble in the bass that we at least in my studio, I don't listen too much. I have a subwoofer, but even then, even with a subwoofer, you might not listen frequencies below 40. So what I usually do is just cut them, so to be sure that my beat is consistent or doesn't have bad information or rumble, bass rumble in the bottom of the spectrum. And the same goes for the top. Even though we don't listen, it might interfere with converters and all that kind of digital to analog and analog to digital conversion from the digital world of making music. So the next thing, so the first stage is, I will say, not limiting. I was going to rename this and try to find a good name for this. I will leave it as EQ. The next one is compression, and as you can see here, we can do some compression. It's not that how can I say, the dynamics are not all over the way. It's a clean beat, even though this doesn't have any vocals and it's only the beat. So, but as you can see, it's not very it doesn't have very high peaks and low peaks. So the next thing that I like to do is to add some compression. So we are going to use the C1 compressors comp steady from Waves, but you can also use Fruity Limiter. So I'm going to use this one. And one preset that I like is this classic compressor. And as you can see, it changed the ratios and the parameters of the compressor. But what I like to do is to put this makeup at 0. I don't want any makeup gain in this case. The threshold, I will leave it at 0, and the ratio I will decrease a little bit, like 2 to 3 to 1. So in this case, now I can play it again and start decreasing the threshold so that I have just the peaks, nothing too very there. What I'm trying to say is I don't want to over compress this bit, so I just want to have a little bit of compression here. The next thing that I want to do is add some saturation, and for this case I'm going with Ferric 2DS, which is a free plugin and you can download it for free. And what I like to do is to add a little bit of dynamics. We still have this compressor, so we don't have to do a lot of compression here, but I want to add some saturation. And the saturation on this plugin is very subtle, so it might not be easy to listen, but it's there. The next thing that I want to do, so this is compression. Let's compression. This one, this is saturation. Now, what I'm going to do now is stereo separation, and you can do that with, where is it? Maximus. If you go here, you can select Maximus, and then in the low, mids, and highs, you can put like this and open up the mids and the highs, and you will have stereo separation. We can listen.
It's productions.
But it's not very noticeable. So one thing that I did was to make a patch using here patcher, and what I did was creating this stereo separation, which use 3 EQs to limit the bands, and I used the free plugin called Ozone Imager, which is from Ozone, which is a nice company and has some really great plugins. And let's see here. So in this case I have the low frequencies, which are the first part here of the patch, and we will listen. And let me activate it, and you can see that these are just low frequencies, and we can either stereoize it or bring it mono. And here in the basses, usually this is normal without stereoization, but when I enable, I like to leave the width very close to -100, which is completely mono. And I do this because of the some club speakers, or even I don't know, even the stage speakers, or can be mono, and you will find problems with your bass if you don't do this. So what I like to do is my mono, even kicks, bass, all mono. My basses, kicks, bass, all my bass portion of my beat, I like to put it mono. Okay, and then with the highs, so this is without stereoization, and what I like to do is increase it a little bit, and as you can see, we already can feel a difference. Let me bypass. It's very subtle, but it's there, and you will see with the 3 bands playing together. So, and this is the highs. I like also to put it around 30 to 40, even 50 sometimes. So now let's listen to everything, and this is stereo separation. I think it's spelled like this.
It's productions.
So let's listen without the stereo separation and with stereo separation. So this is with, now without, banana width. You can see that the highs are a little bit open. I will do this on off later after we have the compressors, or the final stage, which is limiter. Man, sorry for the English. So here in the first stage of the mastering, the limiter part of the mastering process, I usually use two limiters. The first one I usually use this one, and you can also use a limiter, fruity limiter. It's also a good choice, and I used it in the past with really good results. And I usually like to add this one, L1 plus ultra maximizer stereo. And this because it gives me the dither and the quantization, which sometimes is quite useful, but in this case I just don't want any quantization. And here in the domain I want it to be analog or even digital. I have to read more about this, but I usually leave it analog. And here, so let's go with the first stage of the limiter. And I usually do this to increase the level of the signal of the bit, so that we are close to 0. In this case, as you can see here, we are not reaching yet 0, the clipping phase or the clipping stage of the audio signal, and 0 dB. And what I'm going to do is to crank up this threshold, or even crank down. I'm not sure which kind of, it's up or down, whatever. And I will bring the decibel level up to 0, so that we can see here some kind of compression, very subtle, very gentle. So the idea for this first limiter is just to bring up the levels up to 0 dBs and add a little bit of compression, not too much. So we can see already that we are getting closer to the 0 dB, and we are now seeing some compression here, minus 0.7 dB. So I want just a little bit more. Okay, something like this. And I want to leave it as auto release. And now, as you can see here, we are reaching 0 dB. And sorry, if I turn it off, you see the difference in the gain. Okay, so now let's go to the last phase, which is this L1 plus ultra maximizer stereo. And in this case I do the same, but the output ceiling here I want it to be minus 0.3 dB. This is just a precaution so that you don't clip any audio system or any audio digital system. And this allows you to leave it really close to 0 dB, but not 0 dB. So you can do this, and it's a safe precaution, and I recommend you do that. So in this case, what I'm going to do, and as you can see here, we already have some kind of compression because we decreased the out ceiling or the output ceiling. And what I usually do with this last stage is to apply compression, so that normally I will do something like this and add a little bit of compression, so that we catch the snares and the kicks. And in this case we are having minus 2.5 decibels of compression. And as you can see, this is very, how can I say, very soft kind of mastering phase or process, because I don't want to over compress or over master this track. And there's something that it's a good tip for you, is to do not worry about having the loudest
You are listening to Daily Beats.
having the loudest beat, the loudest song in the market. Don't worry about that. Just worry to have grating sounds or grating mixes, and then apply a little bit of all these components that we talk about, and just bring the levels and give a little bit of flavor to your mix or your master. And don't over compress, don't do anything aggressive. Be gentle with your compressions and with your limiter, and you will be safe for all the beats and all the songs that you master. So let's go ahead here and check the stereo separation and see now the difference with the level more higher. So let's listen.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
You see a difference in the vocals, so let me find a part.
Daily Beats. You are listening to Daily Beats.
You saw the difference in the vocals. So the vocal, it's a mono signal.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
But whenever I put the stereo separation, try to hear it. First, when we don't have stereo separation, we have the vocal dead center. But now with stereo separation, you will see that it sounds like a stereo vocal.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
It's not right in the center. So let's listen. I will try to put it on with the vocal, with the tag.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
Could you understand the difference? It's very subtle, but if you take a look and try to listen to only to the vocal and see that the vocal, it's me talking, but whatever. The vocal, it's really in the center.
You are listening to
Not in this case. This is with stereo separation.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
Now with stereo separation.
You are listening to Daily Beats.
I hope you can understand that. It's very subtle, but it makes a very big difference, especially in the top part of the beat, in the highs, and here in the tail of the parallel reverb in the snare.
Daily Beats Productions.
I think for me it's very clear, but to untrained ear it can be a little bit hard to understand these two parts. And now what I want to do is pretty much the mix or the master is over. So at least in my case, and what I like to do is to go ahead here with the Edison and record this. So let's go ahead and on input it can be this, and what I'm going to try to show you is the before and after mastering. I'm going to do like until here, until 17, so that we can see the difference of the unmastered and mastered track. So let's go ahead, arm for record, and let's wait a little bit.
Daily Beats Productions.
Okay, I think that's enough. So let's bring it here, and you already can see the difference, right? So let me grab this part and delete it like this, so that we can see the beat side by side. And you can see here it's a very big difference from not mastered and mastered. So let's listen. I will try to let's go ahead and do something fun here. So what I'm going to do is to disable all the plugins from the master, and if we listen only to this part,
It's productions.
we have the master song, and here
Productions.
the unmastered song. So what I'm going to do is do some type of A/B comparison. So let's put this in 1 and this in 2, and let's listen to the first one.
It's productions.
So we are minus 6 dB. So let's go ahead and put this one here,
It's
minus
productions.
6 too. Something like this. So let's listen.
It's productions.
Yeah, level wise it's not yet there. So let's
It's
see.
productions.
Okay, so let's see what we have here. So in this case we have this one not mastered, and this one mastered, and I think they match pretty much close in terms of volume. So let me crank up my volume so that I can listen.
It's productions. It's productions.
Can you listen the difference? So let me try to.
It's productions.
In the second one, in the master one, the highs are open, are more it has more presence, the highs, not in the not master track.
It's productions.
We have a lot of presence in the bass, and if we go to this one,
It's productions.
it's more even. Here the snare hits harder in the mastered one, and in this one it's more gentle.
It's productions.
Maybe because we have a more focus on the bass. Here it's more, how can I say, the bass, it's more prevalent than the highs and the lows, at least in
It's productions.
in this one here. But now in this one
It's productions.
you can listen more the highs, the snare, you know. Can you listen? Maybe here in the part where the piano kicks in. So let's listen. So let's listen this first part of the piano. You see the difference in the piano? It's more present, more open, more wide. And this is the difference between a mastered and a not mastered track. Again, I'm not saying that I'm a really good master engineer, which I don't claim to be, but you can master your songs inside of your DAW with good results and without big effort. So as you can see, we only used what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugins, and then the Edison doesn't count. So we used 6 plugins, and we could use different ones. We could use some mid-side EQing. We could use also EQ too. So let me grab here Fidelity EQ. We could also after the stereo separation or even before the stereo separation, it can it makes a difference. And also that's an important thing that you have to be careful. The way or the slots in which your plugin is makes a difference. So if you have this compression or even the stereo separation after, the stereo separation after the or before everything else, it will make a difference. In the same here, the compressor, the DQ, you can use DQ after the stereo separation or before the stereo separation, and it makes a difference, because in this case you will only boost the things after the stereo separation, and the other case you will have them boost or cut. It depends on the things, but this makes a difference. So be careful in the way you put plugins, and that's it. So here, as you can see, you could also add, oops, they are both playing. So let's take this off, put this on 0, this on 0, even we can delete this, and something like this. Okay, and now enable the plugins. And as you can see here, so let's go ahead and try to solo the low frequencies. So I would say this is the some part.
You are listening to
This is boxy, sounds boxy, so I could go ahead and remove a little bit here around 500. It can be a very harsh place to be, so I would like to cut a little bit too. Now here in the tops, let me go ahead and around 1K, widen up a little bit the band and increase a little bit. And now let me go ahead here to 10K and give it a boost. This also makes difference. So as you can see, we could do a lot of corrective stuff, but for the most part, I don't use a lot of these concepts in my beats, at least, because it depends a lot. You know, it depends from music to music, and I'm not trying to be a master engineer. I'm trying to be a producer. And what I usually do is I want to put out my beats as fast as possible. And what I usually do is I have this preset, I have this master chain, and I saved it. And then whenever I want it, I just go ahead and open this preset, and it's there. And I just have to tweak some values here and there. But I don't want to go through all the way, all the time, go through which frequency is annoying and which one I have to increase. I don't usually do that. I leave that for studio or mastering studios, because as you can see, I use headphones which are not really the best ones out there, not even close. My monitors are from old speaker or old Grundig speaker. So as you can see here, I don't want to make my mastering the focus. I just want to master for having my beats out and I can sell them. So this is it. It's what, 35 minutes, so it's quite a long video. And as you can see here, mastering is a very huge topic, and I can spend hours and hours speaking about it. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful, and if you have any questions or doubts, just leave them in the comments below and I will answer them. And if you are new to this channel, please subscribe and activate the notifications so that you know when we upload new videos. And also leave a like and share with your friends. It helps a lot, your friends and our channel. And yeah, my name is Tiago Duarte from dailybeats.pt, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.